Let's start with the absolute most terrifying final warning a young family received right before fleeing a home they had lived in for just 9 days. Today, we're unpacking a truly chilling case study drawn from an account by a man named Sarthik, documenting what his family actually went through back in 1987. We're going to break down the timeline, the layout of the house, and the extremely dark history that was intentionally hidden from them. Get out of here or I'll kill everyone. I mean, just take a second and let that sink in. Today, we're mapping out the rapid 9-day escalation of a paranormal nightmare. And look, this isn't just your standard story of bumps in the night. It's a meticulously detailed account of how a family's dream of starting a new life just completely unraveled into absolute terror. It's a pretty stark reminder of how fast everyday spaces can become hostile and why listening to local warnings might literally save your life. Section 1. Moving to Gandhinagar? The practical choice. So our source material centers on Ramesh Majumdar. He was this highly practical government worker who transferred to Delhi in 1987. He needed a place for his wife and his 2 young boys, 4-year-old Sarthak and his 2-year-old brother. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the tension from day one. Ramesh was totally focused on the practical stuff, right? The rent was incredibly cheap and it was located just 1 street away from his sister's house. But in doing so, he completely ignored some glaring red flags. The landlord demanded a highly unusual 2-month advance payment. And honestly, even more concerning, Ramesh's sister explicitly warned him. She said, "We've heard a lot about that room. Look for someone else." But Ramesh, being fiercely logical, just brushed it all off for a good deal. Section 2. Mapping the house, building the blueprint. To really grasp the terror of this explainer, we first need to establish the physical boundaries. Understanding this layout is absolutely crucial because it highlights just how trapped the family really was. So as you enter, there's a large open courtyard downstairs with mango and jamun trees. Over on the left are the elderly landlord's quarters, right alongside the only bathroom for the entire property. But upstairs is the most important part. It's a large corridor with exactly 2 rooms. One was the large room Ramesh rented. The second room, right across the hall, was permanently locked. The landlord claimed this locked room belonged to his son who lived in the US. Keep that locked room in mind, okay? Because it is central to literally everything that follows. Section 3. First signs of trouble. The whispers. Almost immediately after arriving in the chilly month of February, Sarthak's mother felt this deep, unshakable sense of unease. Now, for the first 4 days, she just chalked the heavy atmosphere up to the stress of moving. We've all been there, right? But on day 5, things escalate. While cooking dinner near the open door, she sees a distinct, dark shadow pass across the curtain and enter that locked room belonging to the landlord's son. She goes over and checks the door. It's firmly padlocked. When Ramesh comes home and she tells him about it, he practically dismisses it as her just having an overactive imagination. Then comes day 6, and you really have to wonder who was talking to the 2-year-old child. The mother is downstairs washing clothes when 4-year-old Sarthak comes running down the stairs, screaming in absolute terror. He says, "Mom, I'm sitting upstairs with my brother." She rushes up to find her 2-year-old sitting on the bed, laughing and interacting with an invisible presence right in front of him. When the terrified mother goes to the landlady and asks if there's a problem at the house, the landlady is super evasive. She just replies, "No, there's no problem. Maybe the child saw something." Section 4. The escalation. Physical threats. At this point, the situation quickly shifts from this eerie feeling of being watched to undeniable physical intimidation. During a cold afternoon nap, Sarthak's mother has her blanket physically and deliberately pulled right off of her. Later that evening, she hears a loud knock on their window. But wait, remember our blueprint. They are on the first floor. That window overlooks a narrow alleyway with a steep drop. No one could possibly be knocking on it from the outside. As she cautiously approaches the glass, an angry, disembodied growl erupts from it, sending her running from the room in pure terror. Hearing her screams, the parents rush back into the room to find 4-year-old Sarthak crying loudly, repeating these exact words. "Mom, how did he come? He will take us with him." And how does the elderly landlord react to a child saying a malicious entity is trying to abduct them? He dismissively insists, "He must have seen a cat. Our house is perfectly fine." The mother flat out refuses to stay, demanding Ramesh move them out right then and there. But Ramesh, ever practical, insists they wait out the month so they don't lose their advance payment. Section 5. The final straw. Sunday's terror. This brings us to the tipping point on the morning of day 9. It's a Sunday, which means Ramesh is finally home to witness the chaos actually unfold. The sequence of events here is incredibly frantic. First, Sartuk is violently shoved off the bed, hitting the floor and immediately accusing his mother, who had her back turned to him, of pushing him. As she tries to calm him down, she hears a sinister woman's voice whisper a death threat directly into her ear. Terrified, she grabs Sartuk and makes a run for the stairs. But halfway down, she feels two hands shove her from behind. She tumbles down the stairs with her son, resulting in Sartuk severely cutting his head. And tragically, Ramesh still blames his wife, scolding her for being clumsy. But that Sunday evening, the skeptic finally experiences the horror firsthand. Ramesh is sitting all alone in the room, writing a letter, when someone begins knocking on that impossible first-floor window. Thinking it's a thief, he grabs a stick and strikes the window to scare them off. But when he pulls back the curtain, he doesn't see a thief. He sees a girl floating in mid-air outside the first-floor window. Her eyes are wide, her face is terrifying, and she looks him dead in the eye, delivering this ultimatum: "Do you want to get out of here alive or get out of here, or I'll kill everyone?" 9. That is the exact number of days this family survived this escalating nightmare. The very next morning, a deeply shaken Ramesh marches down to the landlord and demands his money back. The landlord refuses, bizarrely suggesting Ramesh send his family away to a village for 10 to 15 days while he stays there alone. Ramesh obviously declines this incredibly suspicious offer, packs up his family, and flees to his sister's house, leaving the money completely behind. Section 6. The Dark Secret Revealed. Tragic History. So, the family was safely relocated, but this explainer doesn't end there. With the help of the aunt's husband, Ramesh and his wife began asking the surrounding neighbors about the house, and they uncovered a grim reality that made everything finally make sense. See, for 9 days, the landlord maintained this totally innocent narrative, a vacant room for a successful son working in the U.S. But the truth, according to the neighborhood, that room was actually the site of a devastating suicide. And the house had a reputation so dark that it routinely drove tenants out within days. The neighbors methodically laid out the horrifying historical facts for them. The landlord had a 22-year-old daughter who fell in love, but her parents forbade the marriage. Driven to absolute despair, she committed suicide inside that exact locked room upstairs. Out of sheer ego and anger, the parents refused to perform her proper last rites. But it gets worse. The neighbors also revealed an even darker secret. A few months prior, a previous tenant's young boy was flying a kite on the roof. He told doctors he was pushed from the front by invisible hands before falling over the railing to his death. This directly connects the terrifying floating girl Ramesh saw and the entity trying to abduct little Sarthak to the tragic daughter trapped in that locked room. Which leaves us with this provocative question to close out our explainer. What dark histories are hiding behind the locked doors of the places we call home? Ramesh ignored the red flags and the community's whispers for the sake of a practical bargain. It's a stark reminder that the spaces we inhabit have memories, and sometimes the most terrifying threats aren't things that go bump in the night, but the tragic, unhealed histories that landlords try to lock away. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to always, always ask about the history of a house before you sign that lease.